The bitter, metallic tone of that coffee Gary handed me was a punch to the gut, a warning siren blaring in my head. His eyes, cold and calculating, met mine over the rim of that cursed mug, and I just knew something was terribly, insidiously wrong. My mom, Susan God, she deserved so much better than him. After Dad passed, she was adrift, a ship without a rudder, and Gary, smooth-talking Gary, had sailed right in, all charm and empty promises. I tried to be happy for her, I really did. He makes your mom smile, Mark, I tell myself, gritting my teeth through another one of his smarmy dinners where he told Gore. But his smile, it never quite reached his eyes when he looked at me. It was more of a smirk, a silent, condescending jab, like my very existence was an annoying fly he couldn't wait to swat. For years, I'd swallowed his poison, little by little. It started subtly the way a slow leak rots a foundation, eating away at your confidence. Still chasing that mountain man fantasy, or we, Mark, he'd sneer, his voice dripping with that vague, syrupy concern, usually when Mom was in earshot, whenever I talked about my passion for the outdoors, about wanting to build a life, a career, with a company like Summit Trail Outfitters. You know, he'd add, patting his wallet, there's real money in real asterisk jobs, secure jobs. Each word was a tiny pinprick designed to deflate me, to make me doubt myself. Asterisk, am I just a dreamer? Am I kidding myself? Maybe he's right. Asterisk, he planted those insidious seeds of doubt, hoping they'd take root and choke out my ambitions. He resented me, plain and simple. I was the ghost of my father, a living, breathing reminder that Mom had a life, a family, asterisk, son, asterisk, before he ever slithered into the picture. I saw it in the way he'd accidentally leave me out of conversations, or how he'd conveniently forget to tell me about family outings until the last minute, or not at all. If Mom brought up something I'd achieved, something I was proud of, he'd find a way to subtly change the subject, or, worse, offer some backhanded compliment that felt more like an insult. Oh, that's asterisk, nice asterisk for him, Susan. Goatee as his little hobbies. It was a quiet war of attrition, a campaign of psychological digs, and I was his primary target. But I endured it. For Mom. I'd see that fragile flicker of happiness in her eyes when Gary bought her flowers or whisked her away for a weekend, and I'd push my own churning discomfort down, deep, deep down. Asterisk, she's happy, asterisk, I'd reason trying to convince myself. Asterisk, that's all that matters right now. Asterisk. But then things escalated. It wasn't just the snide comments anymore, the casual, daily cruelty. It became calculated. Sinister. I was pouring every ounce of my being into landing a guide position at Summit Trail Outfitters. This wasn't just a job, it was asterisk the asterisk dream, the culmination of years of hard work, training, and sacrifice. My portfolio was pristine, my references impeccable. I was so close, Mark, so damn close. I could almost taste the crisp mountain air, feel the familiar, comforting pull of a heavy pack, the crunch of the trail under my boots. And that's when the accidents began. My heavy-duty alarm clock, the industrial strength one that could wake the dead. It just didn't go off. Twice. On days I had crucial prep calls, interviews I couldn't afford to miss. Must have been a power surge champ, Gary had mumbled, not even bothering to look up from his damn newspaper, a smug little curl to his lips that made my skin crawl. Then, my meticulously organized digital portfolio, the one showcasing years of backcountry experience, my hard-earned certifications, basically my heart and soul compressed into files. Corrupted. Vanished into the digital ether the night before I was supposed to email it to the hiring manager at Summit. I'd stayed up all night, frantic, a cold sweat breaking out on my brow, piecing it back together from scattered, older backups, my hands shaking, a cold, sickening dread coiling in my stomach. Asterisk, just bad luck, asterisk, I tried to tell myself, my voice hollow even in my own head. Asterisk, tech fails. It happens to everyone. Asterisk. But the coincidences piled up, relentlessly, each one a little too convenient, a little too precisely aimed. A vital recommendation letter, one my old mentor swore he'd sent, never arrived. My best hiking boots, the expensive, broken-in ones I needed for the practical assessment day, developed a sudden, inexplicable tear right along the seam the night before I was due to leave. Little things, individually small enough to be deniable, perhaps. But together? Together they painted a horrifying, undeniable picture. And with every single mishap, Gary was there, lurking in the background, offering his insincere, oily sympathy, that cold, knowing glint in his eyes. Tough break, kid, rough luck. Maybe it's a sign. You know, this whole outdoorsy thing, maybe it just isn't meant to be for you. A sign? Or a carefully orchestrated campaign of sabotage, designed to break my spirit? The thought was monstrous, almost too vile to comprehend. This wasn't just some insecure jerk who didn't like me. This was someone actively, methodically trying to tear down my future, piece by agonizing piece. The chilling realization hit me like a physical blow, winding me, leaving me breathless with a rage so potent, so raw, it almost scared me. My dream job, the one thing I'd poured my entire life into, was squarely in his crosshairs. And that look he gave me over that coffee cup, that damn, knowing smirk, confirmed every single terrifying suspicion. He wasn't just going to stand by and let me fail, he was going to make me fail. The morning of my final interview with Summit Trail outfitters dawned crisp and clear, the kind of autumn day that usually filled me with an almost primal energy. But my insides were a twisted knot of nerves and a strange, unsettling premonition I couldn't quite shake. I'd barely slept, replaying every possible interview question, every potential pitfall, my mind a frantic hamster wheel. Asterisk, this is it, Mark. This is everything. Asterisk. I was downstairs trying to coax down a piece of toast, my stomach churning like a cement mixer, when Gary strolled into the kitchen, already dressed in one of his slick, corporate-looking shirts. He had this unnervingly cheerful air about him, the stark contrast to the dark cloud I felt looming. Mom was fussing around, bless her heart, offering me more juice, more toast, her face a roadmap of anxious hope for me. Big day, hot champ. Gary said, his voice way too smooth, way too knowing. He was holding 2 mugs, and that insincere, plastic smile was plastered on his face. Figured you could use a little something special to get you going, my own personal blend, extra kick. He held one out to me. Steam curled invitingly from the dark liquid. But as I reached for it, my eyes met his over the rim of that mug. And froze. That same cold, calculating glint I'd seen before, that flicker of triumph. It was there, chilling me to the bone. My hand hovered. My heart didn't just pound, it felt like it was trying to batter its way out of my ribcage, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. Asterisk his own personal blend. Asterisk the words echoed in my head, sinister and loaded. All those accidents, those tough breaks, flashed before my eyes like a horrifying slideshow, the silenced alarms, the corrupted files, the missing letter, the sabotage boots. Each one a deliberate, calculated strike. And now this special blend. It wasn't a peace offering. It wasn't a gesture of goodwill. Oh no. I knew, with a certainty that settled like a block of ice in my gut, this was another move in his sick game. This was designed to shatter my chances, probably to make me so jittery or light bomb the interview, the one thing standing between me and my dream. My throat went dry. My mind screamed, Asterisk, don't drink it. He's trying to poison you, you idiot. Asterisk, but what could I do? Accuse him right there, in front of Mom, who was beaming at his apparent thoughtfulness. Cause a scene that would undoubtedly derail me more than any tainted coffee could. He'd deny it, of course. He'd look wounded, turn it around on me, make Asterisk look like the paranoid, ungrateful stepson. He was a master at that. So I forced a smile, a weak, watery imitation of one. Oh, thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. I took the mug, the ceramic warm against my suddenly clammy hands. The aroma, rich and strong, hit my nostrils, and for a horrifying second, I wondered if I was just being paranoid. Asterisk, maybe it's just coffee, Mark. Maybe you're losing it. Asterisk. But then I saw that tiny, almost imperceptible smirk play at the corners of his lips as he watched me. That goddamn smirk. It was all the confirmation I needed. I raised the mug, pretending to take a sip, letting the hot liquid barely touch my lips. It tasted normal. Or did it? Was that a slightly metallic tang? A bitterness that wasn't just the beans. My senses were on high alert, every nerve jangling. Good stuff, I managed, trying to keep my voice even, my face neutral, while inside, a cold, hard rage was beginning to solidify. Asterisk, you won't win, you son of a bitch. You will not take this from me. Asterisk. Mom was chattering happily about how proud Dad would have been, and Gary was lapping it up, playing the supportive stepfather role to the hilt. The hypocrisy was nauseating. I finished my toast, the coffee sitting beside me like a ticking time bomb. I had to get out of there. Well, gotta run, I said, grabbing my jacket and portfolio, the in-touch book still on the counter. Hey, aren't you gonna finish your coffee, champ? Gary called after me, his voice laced with that fake concern that always set my teeth on edge. No, running, a bit late. I'll take it with me. I grabbed the mug, sloshing a bit of the dark liquid over the side. His eyes followed me, sharp and predatory. The drive to Summit Trail outfitters felt like an eternity. The mug sat in the cup holder, a silent, menacing presence. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were wide. At the first gas station I saw, not even a mile from the house, I pulled in sharply, my heart still hammering. I looked around, no one. I grabbed the mug, got out, and walked quickly to the grimy trash can by the pumps. Without a second thought, without a moment's hesitation, I poured the entire contents out, watching the dark, steaming liquid disappear amongst the discarded wrappers and cigarette butts. A wave of relief washed over me, so potent it almost buckled my knees, followed immediately by a surge of pure, unadulterated fury. He had tried to drug me. He had actively tried to sabotage my future, to crush my spirit on the most important day of my professional life. The sheer, cold-blooded malice of it was staggering. But as I got back in the car, something shifted inside me. The fear, the doubt, it was still there at a low hum beneath the surface. But it was overshadowed now by a defiant, ironclad resolve. He wanted to break me. He wanted me to fail. Not today. Today, I was going to walk into Summit Trail Outfitters and I was going to nail that interview. I was going to get that job, not just for me, not just for my dream, but to spit in the face of his treachery. His venom wasn't going to be my downfall, it was going to be my fuel. I straightened my tie, took a deep cleansing breath, and pulled back onto the road, my eyes fixed on the horizon, more determined than I'd ever been in my entire life. I walked back into the house, the signed offer letter from Summit Trail Outfitters practically burning a hole in my pocket. It felt like a shield, a goddamn superhero cape. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. A grin was stretched so wide across my face it felt like it might split. Mom, you're not going to believe this. I yelled, bursting into the living room, expecting to see her face light up. But the scene that greeted me slammed the brakes on my elation so hard, I swear I got whiplash. Mom was there, all right, but she was hovering, pale and frantic, over a figure curled up on the sofa. And that figure was Gary. He was a mess. His normally slick hair was plastered to his forehead with sweat. His face, usually ruddy and smug, was a ghastly shade of greenish-grey. He was groaning, a low, guttural sound like a wounded animal, clutching his stomach as if his insides were trying to claw their way out. The air in the room was thick with a faint, acrid smell that turned my stomach. Mark, oh, thank God you're home. Mom rushed over, her eyes wide with panic. It's Gary, I don't know what's wrong with him, he got so violently ill all of a sudden. My elation curdled, replaced by a cold, prickling dread that started at the base of my spine and spread like ice water through my veins. I looked from Mom's terrified face back to Gary, who let out another agonizing moan, his body spasming. What happened? I asked, my voice strangely flat, detached, as my mind raced trying to piece things together. I don't know. Mom stammered, wringing her hands. He was fine this morning, a little smug. Actually, after you left, he poured himself another cup of that coffee, you know, the special blend he made. Asterisk is special blend. Asterisk. The words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. My blood ran cold. I swear the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. My gaze snapped to the counter in the kitchen, visible from the living room. And there it was. The coffee pot. Still half full. And next to it, Gary's mug, the one he'd been drinking from. The asterisk mug he'd poured from that same pot. The same pot he'd offered me asterisk a cup from. A horrifying slideshow replayed in my mind, Gary's knowing smirk this morning. The overly enthusiastic, my own personal blend, extra kick. The glint in his eye. My hand hovering over the mug he offered me. The metallic tang I thought I'd imagined. The sudden, desperate need to pour it down that gas station drain. My God. Oh my God. He hadn't just tried to drug me. He'd brewed a pot of poison, and in his arrogance, in his goddamn surety that I'd be the one to drink it, he'd forgotten which cup was which. Or maybe, in his haste to see me fail, he'd just tripped his own concoction without thinking. A strangled laugh, dark and humorless, almost escaped me. The universe didn't just have a twisted sense of humor, it had a goddamn flair for the dramatic. This wasn't just irony, this was Shakespearean. This was a comic boomerang, coming back to smack him right in his smug, evil face. Gary let out a wet, retching sound, and Mom rushed back to his side with a basin, her face etched with worry and confusion. He said it tasted a little off, she babbled, but he just drank it down anyway, said he needed the caffeine. I just stared. My anger from this morning, the cold, hard rage, it was still there, but now it was mixed with something else, a chilling, almost clinical observation. I saw him, not as my stepfather, not even as a rival, but as a snake who just managed to bite himself with his own venom. There was no pity. Not a shred. How could there be? This man, writhing on the sofa, was the same man who'd systematically tried to destroy my life, my dreams, piece by piece. He tried to spike my coffee on the biggest day of my life. If I drunk that, I wouldn't have that awful letter in my pocket. I'd be the one doubled over, my future shattered. The thought sent a fresh wave of fury hot and righteous through me. He looked up then, his eyes bloodshot and watery, and for a split second, they met mine. And in that moment, I swear, even through the fog of his agony, I saw a flicker of something akin to dawning horror, a terrible understanding. Did he realize? Did he know, in that moment, that he was suffering the exact fate he'd so meticulously planned for me? I hope so. I hoped it burned. Mom was on the phone, her voice trembling as she spoke to a 911 operator. Yes, he's terribly sick. I think he might have food poisoning, or something. Asterisk or something, asterisk I thought, a grin, tight smile playing on my lips that I quickly wiped away before Mom could see. Oh, it was asterisk something, asterisk all right. It was pure, unadulterated, self-inflicted justice. And as I stood there, watching the architect of my potential downfall crumble under the weight of his own vile trap, a profound, almost terrifying sense of vindication washed over me. He'd wanted to see me broken. Instead, I was standing tall, my dream secured, while asterisk was the one tasting the bitter dregs of his own malice. The paramedics finally loaded Gary into the ambulance, the wail of the siren fading into the distance, leaving behind a house thick with the stench of his illness, a silence that was almost as suffocating. Mom collapsed onto the armchair, not the sofa where Gary had been, as if that piece of furniture was now tainted. She was sobbing, a raw, bewildered sound that tore at me. I don't understand, Mark, I just don't understand. He seemed stressed lately about money, but he always said he had it handled. Asterisk money? Asterisk, my ears perked up. Gary always postured like he was some big shot, but he'd been out of steady work for years, consulting he called it, which mostly seemed to involve a lot of golf and fancy lunches asterisk he asterisk wasn't paying for. Alarm bells, louder and more insistent than any I'd heard before, started clanging in my head. This wasn't just about me anymore, was it? This darkness in him, it ran deeper, much deeper. Mom, I said, kneeling beside her, trying to keep my voice gentle despite the cold fury coiling in my guts. What do you mean, stressed about money? Did he say anything specific? She shook her head, wiping her eyes. Just vague things, bills piling up. He said he was reallocating some investments, that it was all fine. He handles all the finances, you know. He always has, since Dad died. She didn't need to say it. Gary had swooped in, the charming savior, taking over everything, including her trust. A sudden, sickening thought hit me. Mom, where does he keep the bank statements, the financial papers? She looked up, confused. In his office, I think, the little desk in the spare room. Why? I didn't answer, just stood up, a grim purpose settling over me. I think we should take a look. Mark, I don't think she started, but I was already moving. Just humor me, Mom, please. His office was more like a hoarder's den of self-importance. Golf trophies, unopened gadget boxes, and stacks of business magazines. But on the desk, under a pile of unpaid parking ticket figures, was a worn leather-bound checkbook register. And next to it, a stack of bank statements. Asterisk Mom's asterisk bank statements. My blood turned to ice as I flipped through the pages. Signature after signature. Asterisk Susan M. Davies. Asterisk except it wasn't Mom's elegant looping script. It was a crude, almost childish forgery. Clumsy. Obvious if you knew what to look for. But Mom trusted him. She wouldn't have looked. Withdrawal after withdrawal. Large sums. Transferred to accounts I didn't recognize. Her savings account, the one Dad had painstakingly built for her for their asterisk future, it was gutted. Emptied. A lifetime of security just gone. Siphoned off by the parasite she'd married. I felt the room tilt. The air thinned. This wasn't just about him trying to sabotage my interview. This wasn't some petty rivalry. This was monstrous. He hadn't just tried to drug me. He'd been systematically, coldly bleeding my mother dry. He was a predator, a goddamn vampire in a polo shirt, sucking the life out of her while smiling in her face, all while plotting to ruin me too, probably to ensure I wouldn't be around to uncover his grand con. The offer letter in my pocket suddenly felt heavy, not with triumph, but with the weight of this horrifying new reality. My win today was just one battle. The real war, I realized with a sickening lurch, had been raging silently for years, and my mom was the primary casualty. Harry hadn't just wanted to keep me down, he was trying to destroy everything. Everything she had. Everything asterisk we asterisk had. I walked back into the living room, the bank statements clutched in my hand like a death warrant. Mom looked up, her face still puffy, bewildered. I didn't know how to soften this. There was no soft way. I just laid them out on the coffee table, right next to her untouched cup of tea, and pointed to the signatures. Mom, look at these, look at your signature. She leaned forward, squinting. At first confusion. Then a flicker of something else terrible, dawning horror. That's not quite right, is it? She whispered, her voice trembling. She picked one up, her hand shaking so badly the paper rattled. She traced the crude forgery of her name, then another and another. The dam of her denial finally broke, and a sound escaped her, a raw, guttural cry of such profound betrayal it felt like the floor was dropping out from under us. All of it she choked out, looking at me, her eyes wide with a pain that seared right through me. Mark, asterisk, all of it asterisk. I just nodded, my own throat tight. He took everything, Mom, years of it. That was the moment something shifted in her. The heartbreak didn't vanish. No, it was too deep for that. But it had hardened. Like steel forged in the hottest fire. The tears stopped, replaced by an icy fury I'd never seen in her before. This wasn't the gentle, trusting woman Gary had preyed upon. This was a mother bear whose cub had been threatened, whose entire world had been violated. Get me the phone, she said, her voice low and steady, laced with the resolve that sent shivers down my spine. The next few days were a blur of lawyers, bank fraud departments, and police reports. Each conversation was like peeling back another layer of Gary's deceit. We discovered offshore accounts, bad investments made with her money, a whole secret life funded by the nest egg Dad had worked his fingers to the bone for. It turned out Gary wasn't just a small-time con, he was a damn artist of manipulation, a maestro of misery. He'd been setting up his escape route, probably figuring once Mom was broken I was out of the picture, discredited, and unemployed, no one would be left to challenge him. The police were surprisingly quick, especially when the bank's fraud unit presented their own damning evidence. I wasn't there when they arrested him. Mom didn't want me to be, and honestly, I didn't need to see it. The image of him being cuffed, his smug face finally wiped clean of that arrogant smirk, was satisfying enough to imagine. He'd been discharged from the hospital, still looking green around the gills from his own poison brew, only to be slapped with handcuffs. Poetic justice indeed. His consulting career, his fancy lunches, his whole house of cards, it all came crashing down in a spectacular inferno of his own making. The legal battle was long and messy. We didn't get all the money back, some of it was just gone, vanished into the ether of his greed. But we got enough. Enough for Mom to have security again, enough to start over. The house, thankfully, had been in her name, a smart move by Dad years ago that Gary, for all his scheming, hadn't been able to undo. Slowly, painstakingly, we started picking up the pieces. The stench of Gary's illness eventually faded from the house, replaced by the scent of lemon polish and fresh starts. Mom was different. Stronger. Warrior, for sure, but there was a fire in her eyes now, a resilience I'd never known she possessed. She started volunteering at a local women's shelter, helping others who'd been tricked and betrayed. She found a purpose in her pain. And me? That job offer from Summit Trail Outfitters, the one Gary had tried so desperately to sabotage. It became my lifeline. I threw myself into it, the crisp mountain air a welcome change from the toxic atmosphere I'd been living in. There were days hiking up a steep trail, the sun on my face, when I'd think about that bitter coffee, about Gary's sneering face, and a cold knot would tighten in my stomach. Asterisk, he almost broke me, asterisk, I'd think. Asterisk, he almost took everything. Asterisk. But then I'd remember the look on his face when the paramedics wheeled him out, sick as a dog from his own treachery. I'd remember the click of handcuffs I'd imagined, the steely resolve in Mom's voice as she dialed the lawyer. And I realized that the win wasn't just getting the job, or even seeing Gary get his due. The real victory was watching Mom rediscover her strength, watching her reclaim her life. It was the quiet evenings we spent not talking about him, but about the future, about new beginnings. The desire for revenge, that hot, burning fury I'd felt when I saw those forged signatures, it cooled. It didn't disappear entirely, but it transformed. It became a quiet satisfaction, a grim understanding that sometimes the universe, in its own brutal way, does balance the scale. Gary's world imploded, sure, and there was a part of me that wouldn't deny the dark satisfaction in that. But the sweetest part? It was walking away from that wreckage hand in hand with my mom towards something brighter. It was proving that we could not only survive his darkness but thrive in the light that came after. And that, I realized, was the most profound revenge of all. Yeah, watching Gary's whole world just asterisk implode asterisk like that. I won't lie, there was a grim satisfaction in seeing him get what he deserved. A definite, dark little thrill. But as the smoke cleared, as I saw Mom start to actually asterisk live asterisk again, something inside me shifted. That burning need to see him pay, it cooled down. I realized the sweetest revenge wasn't about his ruin, not really. It was about asterisk asterisk. Our resilience. Our escape. The true victory. It was walking out of that wreckage stronger. It was Mom finding her footing, reclaiming her independence piece by piece. It was me finally building that life at Summit Trail, the one he tried so desperately to sabotage. Asterisk, you couldn't stop us, asterisk, I'd think, looking out at those vast mountain ranges. Asterisk, you couldn't snuff out our lie. Asterisk, and that was it. Thriving, really thriving, in the sunshine after his darkness. That, my friends, was the most profound payback imaginable. It wasn't about his fault, it was about our rise.